Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I want to take a moment to respond to a fascinating idea brought to our attention by CGP Grey, his proposal of a better airline boarding method that, according to him, airlines just won't use. Now, if you haven't seen his video, the concept is both intriguing and in many ways counterintuitive. CGP Grey lays out a boarding method that, on paper, seems to streamline the process, cut down on delays, and get passengers to their seats with minimal interference. And yet, as he argues, despite its efficiency, airlines are unlikely to adopt it. Today I'd like to explore why that might be, and whether there might be a middle ground between mathematical efficiency and real-world practicality. At its core, CGP Grey's argument is that our current boarding methods are suboptimal. Think about it. The common back-to-front or random boarding methods are riddled with inefficiencies. As passengers stow their luggage, they block the aisle for those still making their way to their seats. A well-orchestrated boarding process could, in theory, reduce these bottlenecks significantly. Grey proposes a method that organizes passengers in such a way that the aisle is left clear, minimizing conflicts and reducing overall boarding time. But here's where things get interesting. While the math behind this optimal method is compelling, the method itself runs up against several real-world challenges. For one, consider the human element. Airlines are not just in the business of moving people from point A to point B as quickly as possible, they're also in the service business. Passengers expect a certain level of comfort, flexibility, and even a bit of chaos that feels familiar. An overly regimented boarding process might improve efficiency, but it could also come off as too impersonal or even oppressive. Imagine being told exactly when to board, in what order, and having little room for the natural variance that comes with travel. Families traveling together, for example, might find it stressful if they're separated by a rigid system designed for optimal flow. Frequent flyers who are accustomed to a more flexible boarding experience might also bristle at the thought of being forced into an unfamiliar order. In essence, while the system might save a few minutes on average, it could also create frustration and anxiety among passengers, issues that, from an airline's perspective, are just as critical as efficiency. There's also the matter of implementation. Airlines operate on complex systems that have evolved over decades. Changing the boarding process isn't as simple as flipping a switch. It involves retraining staff, overhauling check-in procedures, and most importantly, changing customer expectations. Even if data supports the new method as being significantly more efficient, there's always the risk that the transition itself will create confusion, delays, or even worse, negative customer reviews. And in today's competitive market where passenger satisfaction is a key metric, airlines might decide that a marginal gain in boarding speed isn't worth the potential downside of an unpopular process. Moreover, there's an inertia at play. Airlines, like many large organizations, are reluctant to change tried and tested systems unless there's a compelling reason to do so. Even if the new method offers clear efficiency benefits, the cost, both monetary and in terms of public perception, might outweigh those gains. After all, passengers are used to the way things work now, and a radical change, no matter how well-intentioned, can feel disruptive. Yet this isn't to say that innovation in boarding procedures should be dismissed entirely. In fact, the discussion spurred by CGP Grey's analysis has opened up an important dialogue about how we balance efficiency with customer experience. There might be incremental improvements that can be adopted, such as subtle adjustments in boarding zones or smarter use of technology to better manage the flow of passengers. The goal isn't necessarily to implement the perfect mathematically optimal solution overnight, but rather to find a system that can offer improvements without sacrificing the human touch that is so essential to air travel. Ultimately, the challenge lies in reconciling the two very different priorities. On one hand, there's the allure of efficiency, a streamlined process that minimizes delays and optimizes every minute. On the other, there's the need to maintain a positive, flexible, and accommodating travel experience for millions of passengers. It's a balancing act, one that requires not just data and algorithms, but a deep understanding of human behavior, psychology, and the unpredictable nature of travel. So while CGP Gray's better boarding method is an inspiring thought experiment that challenges us to rethink the status quo, it also serves as a reminder that the best solutions in the real world are often compromises. They must account for not only efficiency, but also practicality, comfort, and the innate unpredictability of human behavior. In conclusion, while the mathematically optimal boarding method might remain a tantalizing idea, one that airlines won't use due to its potential to disrupt customer experience, the conversation it sparks is invaluable. It pushes us to question the systems we take for granted and to explore new ways of improving everyday processes. And who knows, with gradual changes, a smarter technology, and a willingness to adapt, we might someday see a boarding process that offers the best of both worlds. Thanks for your attention and safe travels.